The other week, my wife and I were driving home from visiting a friend, and it was Sunday evening, and it's notoriously hard to find parking in my neighborhood on Sunday evenings. And so I started out really optimistic, driving by the house just in case there's a spot right in front of the house, right? Of course, there wasn't, and so we continue circling, and at about minute 20, I'm starting to get really irritated about not being able to find parking, and especially seeing spots where there's clearly enough space for two cars, but the car just decided to take that spot right in the middle and leave no space for anybody else. And I was just getting really agitated at these assholes that parked their car clearly where there was room for two cars and not leaving space for me. And so I'm starting to rant and just be really, irritated. And my wife turns to me and she's like, "You know what? Not everyone is like you." And what I realized is that every judgment that I had about these fictional people was really a reflection of what I think is important, of my values. Because I really value conscientiousness and, being thoughtful about how my actions impact other people. And honoring those values brings me a lot of joy and a lot of joy to the people around me. And so what started as a really annoying experience transformed in a moment into a lighthearted appreciation about me and the ways that I like to show up in the world. And so I offer this to you because the next time you catch yourself judging someone, focusing on that other person creates a lot of suffering, right? It creates a lot of agitation and anger. And so instead, to just turn the focus from that other person to yourself and think about, why does this bother me so much? Like, what is it that I hold dear that is I'm not seeing reflected in this fictional story that I'm making up about this other person, right? And to appreciate that wow, I really honor conscientiousness or consideration or gratitude or whatever it is, and to just like see that in yourself in that moment instead of just focusing on the other person. A lot of us have people in our lives who are very judgmental. And, for example, you might have a colleague at work that likes to talk shit about their colleagues, right? About other people that at work. And depending on whether or not you agree with them, it can be kind of an awkward conversation, right? If you don't agree with their assessment of somebody else, you might start judging them for being judgmental or for being toxic or whatever. And that really creates a disconnection, because the reason that people complain to us about other people is really to connect with us, right? And so instead, next time you're with someone who's judging someone else in an effort to connect with you, instead of considering whether or not you agree with their assessment of that person, just sort of turn the focus to them and see if you can see past their judgment into what it is that they really hold dear, and then acknowledge that about that person. So if a colleague of yours is complaining about a team member who is lazy or incompetent, right? See what happens if you turn the focus to that person that you're talking to and say, "It sounds like you really value responsibility and having a strong work ethic. And I really appreciate that about you. And that's why I love having you on my team." And just see what happens. You might notice that that person becomes completely disarmed, or the focus then becomes about the relationship between the two of you and not about that other person, right? It's really not about that other person. So give it a try and let me know how it goes. And enjoy this beautiful day in San Francisco today. Thanks a lot.